Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drawing and Talking with me, your host, Freebiewits. Today, we're taking a look at a character named Shadewaker. When I first read this character's name, I thought it was Shade Walker, but then I looked at it a second time and realized, no, it's Shadewaker. Now, before we continue, please don't forget to subscribe. It really does help the channel. So who is Shadewaker? Well, if I had to describe this character in one word, I'd say he's edgy. Now, I'll try not to repeat myself too much since I did already state my views on edgy characters in my Innova video, but long story short, edgy isn't inherently a bad descriptor, it's just that. It's a descriptor of a character. Shadewaker is that generic vampire type character who hates other vampires, is a good guy, you know, that sort of thing, and wields holy weapons. What makes him a bit odd, at least in my eyes, is the fact that he's an atheist. Now don't get me wrong, I don't have anything against atheists, but if you're in a universe where Dracula literally exists and weapons can be literally described as actually holy, I just don't see how you cannot at least be agnostic. It just seems a bit odd that you don't believe in holy power when you're literally wielding a holy sword, a sword that emanates holy power. I mean, I guess you could argue that holiness and vampires all have a scientific explanation to them, okay, I guess, but it does seem a bit odd and contrarian when used this way. Now, what makes this character cool, at least in my eyes, is that he fights evil robots. Or just robots who aren't evil and just programmed by evil people to fight him and stuff like that. Gives off a Samurai Jack kind of feeling. A awesome cartoon which I absolutely loved as a kid. Now, the main thing that separates this edgy character from most other edgy type characters is the fact that he's described specifically as friendly. Not as, you know, edgy and broody or anything, he's literally just friendly, likes peoples, animals, that sort of thing. The backstory, of which there's very little, basically says that he obviously used to be human, he used to have a bit of a temper, used to be a proud member of the Royal Fallen Navy and the Fallen Royal Air Force, but now wanders the planet alone as a vampire hated simply for what he has become. Generic, you know, edgy character, background stuff. Not really important in my eyes, it's pretty short, you can do a lot with that, it's just background garnishing to me. Now, moving on to the powers, generic vampire stuff, blood drain, shadow travel, regeneration, all that stuff, but what makes him a bit weird is the fact that he has no weaknesses to sunlight, which kind of implies that he still has weaknesses to all the other classic vampire stuff. However, there is one little issue with that. I don't actually know what kind of vampire this is. The classical vampires used to not be able to cross running water, and if you put rice down on the ground, they have to count every single bit, you know, all that stuff. You can only kill them with a stake to the heart, so on and so forth. Honestly, we don't know. Like, this character, Shadewaker, could in theory still have those weaknesses, but if it's not that kind of vampire in this kind of setting, for all we know, the only kind of weakness these vampires could have is weakness to sunlight. It was sort of touched upon before, but it does mention that he's feared for what he is, and, well, frankly, if you're a vampire who literally needs to eat people and their blood to stay alive, I kind of think it's sort of justified. I mean, look at a bear in real life. No matter how nice it is, there's always a chance that it could get really, really hungry and go eat people because it still needs to eat. Now, moving on to the section where I try to see if it would fit into a tabletop RPG. Yes, I mean, edgy characters in D&D isn't anything new, as long as they don't dwell on it too much, and the fact that this character is friendly and therefore can probably work with other people, it's perfectly fine. This character, I'm not sure if they're specifically a team player, but I could see it working just fine. I mean, the fact that he has to eat people is a minor nuisance at best. There are tons of evil characters who, well, you kill anyways in D&D and the like, so eating them, well, what's the difference there? Especially if you're only doing it because you don't want to die. You know, starving and all that. Would this character work in LARP? Kind of. I mean, the actual character itself would. It's the special abilities and powers that get a bit weird. Now, assuming there is a LARP setting out there which can incorporate blood draining, regeneration, super strength, all that stuff is fine. What gets a bit weird is, number 1, super speed, and number 2, shadow travel. Teleportation and super speed in LARPs don't really work that well, because if you're being shot by a Nerf dart or whatever, physically speaking, you can only do so much to move out of the way if it's point blank range. Now, I suppose there could be special abilities in LARPs where you say, I have the dodge ability, so even if it hits you, you could say that in character, you dodged it and such. So I guess that would work. Teleportation, however, well, like I said, that's a bit weird and such. Overall, he's fine. Nothing too special in the good or bad department. He definitely works. As for my actual drawing, I tried my best. I feel that I didn't quite get it quite right. You probably noticed that I can't draw a straight line to save my ass. That said, because the character was noted to be quite acrobatic, I tried to incorporate that into the drawing a bit, and a bit of the edginess in that I tried to make his sword resemble a cross. It's basically where my design decision started and ended. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Please tell me if you've played a character like this before and roleplayed them and what it was like. Anyways, have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.